안녕하세요. 캐나다한인교향악단 온라인 시즌을 찾아주셔서 감사합니다. Hi and welcome to the Korean Canadian Symphony Orchestra's virtual season. This season is called the Beethoven Filter and it is based on the beautiful story arc of Beethoven's Opus 132 String Quartet. My name is Sharon Lee and I am the music director of the Korean Canadian Symphony Orchestra. I have the Selah Quartet here with us today. There's been a bit of a change in program for obvious reasons. Here in Ontario, we cannot have the string orchestra that we were going to have for you and the wind ensemble, and we will save that for another concert later and hopefully very soon. But for this concert, we're going to bring to you the entire Opus 132 String Quartet by Beethoven, and I'm really excited to bring you this whole story arc as a whole in one concert. And here to walk us through it is the Selah Quartet. Please welcome the Selah Quartet.
Hello, Selah Quartet. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys are all doing well. You look happy and healthy.
I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourselves, what you play, even though that'll become really apparent very soon.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I play violin in Selah Quartet.
Hello, my name is Jin-Gyu Park. I play cello in Selah Quartet.
And I'm Lauren Shifley. I play viola in Selah Quartet.
Hi, my name is Douglas Kwon, and I play a violin. And four of us were already knew each other through the schools and musical connections, and we go way back long time. And obviously, being a musician ourselves, one of the greatest joy that we enjoy is playing chamber music together, regardless of having a concert or not. And we are talking about what would be a nice way to contribute to the society and the community that we belong. And we are talking about forming a string quartet, this medium that we can use to really deliver and transfer what we do already for our joy and then feeling of the loving the music.
This whole season wouldn't have been possible if you hadn't joined us as artists in residence and given us this beautiful performance to base the entire season on. So I'm really happy that the result of all the shutdowns and us not being able to record anything new has resulted in being able to present Beethoven's Opus 132 as a whole, which is a really wonderful thing that we're able to do. So it's kind of like a happy accident that this has happened this way. Could you talk our audience through? We're going to have a little bit of a guided tour for the entire performance, but if you could start us off with the first movement.
So I'll start by reading a very short poem written by Dylan Thomas. Your pain shall be a music in your string, and fill the mouth of heaven with your tongue. So music has a capacity to capture the burden of the existence and lends them into reflection that gives both the meaning but also comfort. In this time during the pandemic, which is dangerous for us to actually meet each other, so I think it was very important and meaningful for us, not just as presenting, but for us to revisit the Beethoven's 132, because this movement, as written in his later part of his life, really visits and digs into the deepest part of his struggle, and through that we get to hear his recovery and his gratitude towards the things that are given in his life. So first movement is very interesting. It starts with a very slow yet not much material, having each voice of the instrument enter, and it enters in very close voicing to each other, which creates intimacy. And then it interacts each other, very short intro, and it dives into first violins, the big solo right away. And this fragmentation between each line that develops into a own section later in the movement really shows the Beethoven's struggles through his voicings and how intimate, how close they are related, and one can hear in first movement you can try to see if you can agree with this as well. A lot of fragments, a lot of little phrase, sub-phrase are not really resolved. Whether they're interrupted, distracted, lose sense of direction, and the flow is disrupted many, many times. And one can hear this as more difficult way to listen, but one can relate this to Beethoven's life himself.
Thank you for that explanation, Douglas. And we will revisit our first movement that we did back in October. And here it is.
What you're about to hear next is the second movement of the piece. And this movement is simple and graceful compared to the first movement that you just heard. In the earlier part of the movement, it has the feeling of dancing and flowing and tenderness. You can hear the dialogues between the voices in symmetrical ways. And also in the trio section, you can find the sounds that evokes the bagpipes, the flute, and the oboe. And also in the second movement, you can find the sounds that evokes the for the hurdy-gurdies of the countryside, and the image of children like play. Please enjoy this minuet trio little movement that gives you peaceful atmosphere.
this third movement is one of Beethoven's masterpieces without question. It's heavily emotional, and it changes depending on what time of life you're in. I have found it's at the very front of the piece he wrote, translated from German into English, Song of Thanksgiving to God for Recovery from an Illness in the Lydian mode. And with another section after that saying, Feeling New Strength. And he switches in between these two segments, this chorale recovery, from illness, and also this feeling new strength. And he sort of hop skips around, and they're very different juxtapositions of each other in a way. And when we recorded this in October, it meant something to me that was very profound and amazing. And since from then until now, I got married, which is amazing. But then my sister also passed away. And it's each of these kind of life changes made the piece and this movement in particular just mean an array of things that I never thought possible. It changes, and to kind of deconstruct it further, I'm leery to do that because it's just so profound, and how to rationalize that kind of emotion that you get from music. So I encourage you to listen and see how this music affects you on an intellectual as well as emotional level.
So after heavenly third movement, now we're in a fourth. Beethoven re-established the terrestrial with an alla marcia in this movement. Alla marcia means in march style. So you guys will hear a lot of this kind of march throughout this movement. It has a three parts. First two parts as a repeat. And opening, it begins with a march. And shortly after, the direction gets lost and it's beginning of conversation in each instrument. There's a questioning, answering, and supporting. It's kind of fun element to find out who's talking to who's like supporting, and who's against who. This is all fun. And it closes with a march again, and second part, it dissolves more into delicate and playful melody, but still march is underneath, and definitely there's more conversation involved. And it's wrapped up with a march again, and beginning of third, except first violin, other instrument preparing, setting up this mood for amazing recitativo that Beethoven wrote it for instrument. And if you guys had a chance of hearing opera before, probably you guys heard a singer speaks with a rhythm without that much of melodies, and that's a recitativo. So the first violin speaks with an instrument, and that leads into opening of fifth movement. So hope you guys enjoy.
So the fifth movement, which is attacca from the fourth movement, it's an interesting movement to close off this entire quartet, because Beethoven initially had thought of this movement as the end movement of his Ninth Symphony, which is kind of incredible. He changed it to a string quartet because the setting of it was a little too intimate in a way. He couldn't get these ideas to translate in an orchestra as well as he could for a string quartet, which is especially fitting considering that both the Ninth Symphony and this quartet have a recitative right before this moment. It starts off Allegro appassionato, a lot of urgency. It has sort of for the first time in a while, it has urgency to a place that we don't really know where it goes. And after having played it, where it goes changes for me, but it has direction, for the first time in a while, and it's real intensity and it's a real, you can be the judge, of course, but it's a real Beethoven last movement in that it just is relentless for the players and the listener in a way. It just goes. And sometimes you even get a cellist that likes to take the ending very fast, and it makes life very interesting for all other parties involved. Yeah, Junkyu? Yeah?
They play too fast?
But it's a dynamite movement. It's wonderful. What can I say? It's a masterpiece. It's 132. I hope you enjoy.
A big thank you to the Selah Quartet once again for being our ensemble in residence this season. And another big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in for all of our concerts and sharing them with your friends and family. If you do feel so inclined, I encourage you to make a donation to our orchestra. This is a very difficult time for arts organizations across the board, and our organization is no exception. We need all the help that we can get, and if this kind of programming, this kind of music making has touched you in some way, I really do invite you to consider giving us a little bit of a donation. We are a registered charity, and we do give out tax receipts above a certain amount, and we hope to see you again in better times and with a larger orchestra, hopefully very soon.
First of all, bravo for your performance back in October. It was, for me, it was one of the last things that I saw live. And we were able to, I don't know if our audience knows, we were able to have a very small audience at that time because that particular concert was co-presented with Timothy Eaton. And I think we had like 15 people, and everyone was spaced out like 10 meters apart or something. And you could hear a pin drop in that room. Everyone was like, they were hungry for live music already back in October. There was definitely a void in many of our lives already at that point, and now it's been more than half a year since then. So revisiting that 132, what goes through your mind? How does that feel to like, does it feel like visiting an old friend? Do you feel tired, thinking about it?
I think it's impossible to get tired of Beethoven music.
I mean, like physically tired, or like...
Of course, it's kind of very challenging physically playing through this music, right?
Mm.
But the Beethoven 132 was our very first project as a Selah Quartet. And I never imagined playing late Beethoven works as a first project in quartet. Like, our rehearsal was very intense.
I'll say
same as the music.
Especially we needed to prepare that for shorter time.
Oh yeah, but at the end, it was like so worth it. It's amazing music, right? So, like, personally, I'm really grateful finally covering this 132 with our amazing members.
So everyone has a different feeling and different relationship with this particular piece or late Beethoven all. I think for us string musicians, we do take string quartet as a medium quite seriously, and it's very dear to our heart, the string quartet, and especially the late Beethoven, like you heard it, for its power, emotional power by its intensity, but also its intimacy. And it is so real in terms of, not to go too abroad, but romantic period where we start to finally talk about our emotion. Of course, it's great to talk and then glorify the nature that's given to us, but we start to really deep down and search to talk about our emotions, our inner struggles and our inner feelings. And Beethoven's, especially his late works, really captures that beyond the level that we can possibly imagine expressing through our words. That's the beauty of the music. And for myself, the Beethoven 132 this was the third time that I visited with the different members each time. But I have never done it obviously during the pandemic time and lockdown. And as Jungyu mentioned, it was, someone could argue, it's very dangerous choice for as a quartet, as friends, although we mentioned we've already been friends and playing so many times, reading each other music. As a first piece to start rehearsing on, it's quite difficult because as you heard, there's so many little things and it's happening all the time, cutting each other. So it's never really formed organizedly, tightly in a way for us to have a good mode to work on. It's very hard to rehearse on because it's like a journey. You have to take through your lifetime, revisit many, many times, and it gives you different feelings. Or even the piece that you think you know, it still gives you the feeling and sense of awe. So it is very dangerous choice, but yet, like Junggi mentioned, it was very grateful because through this, we really start with, as our quartet, as our journey, we start with, in a way, experiencing our ugliness, the most deep down, who we are as a human. We start with that first. So hopefully it leads us to have a more generosity so we can move on to our future for us as a quartet and as us as a friends.
A very practical thing that many of our audience would never expect would be, how many hours of rehearsal did you put into this?
It was a lot.
Six hours per day?
Not long enough, it felt like, but it was a lot.
Yeah, something
So
along that
besides
line.
our own preparation, I'll say more than 50 hours for sure together. More than 50 hours for sure, because we had to meet probably at least 15 times, 10 to 15 times together. And each time we meet, like Sarah mentioned, we rehearse 3 hours, very intense, everyone concentration on working mode, also fighting, arguing like crazy because we believe in what we say. And it's sometimes great thing comes from arguments as soon as it's very constructive. That's the way we learn, professional musicians. And we have a kind of lunch, outside we go out for a walk, very nice midtown area, and then come back and we rehearse again for like 3 hours. And we did that for many, many times.
Well, thank you. Thank you for putting in so much work. And I do understand that it was a pretty quick transition or change of repertoire. Thank you for being really flexible on that. Douglas had mentioned the slow movement of 132, I think before the summer even, when the pandemic first hit, and we were talking about, should we keep our repertoire as is, or do we change it in some way to make it fit or have it a little bit more medicinal almost for these times, and he had mentioned 132, and then it was interesting because I think not long after you mentioned 132, we had a board meeting, and one of our board members, he said, I would really love to hear the slow movement of 132 right now. And we were all talking about, what kind of music we've all been drawing on during this pandemic time and what is giving us strength. And this is what he said. And that really took me down a whole other rabbit hole. And I listened very focused. The whole season just kind of came up from that. And, because you hear the different cornerstones of each movement in each section and all the things that Beethoven's trying to communicate through that, and then you can be able to piece together other works around that, and that you playing this piece really did save this season for us. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So while we're on the topic of pandemic and how we've shifted repertoire for the pandemic, the entire program or concert season for KCSO was changed due to pandemic, and it was changed many times since then. How has the pandemic affected you for your, for example, work, your music making? How have the restrictions affected your approach to music making? That's a really big question. Yeah, but it's a popular question amongst presenters right now.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because as a classical musician, most of the people that come to our concerts are above the age of 65. And we can't get together and play music for these people, for our fans, for the people that love our music, until everyone can congregate safely again, which is a big ask. We were the first people to kind of, be out of work, and will be the last ones probably to return. So it's sort of, the pandemic's been interesting because we've almost had to, we've had to say goodbye to dreams. We'd have dreams of projects that we've thought up for years, months, days. We've tours that were, set in stone and then suddenly canceled, concerts. Like, I think before this year, almost none of us had ever had a concert cancel. And then one week we had all of them cancel. So it's very discouraging, but also the silver lining to this is we are able, because we can practice at home, we are able to focus in on our craft and in our artistry, which is still discouraging not to play with your friends when you're used to playing, 2-3 concerts a week, to playing 1 concert a year maybe, or whatever that number may be. But it's sort of, it's that shift into focusing inward, and so that you can create and project outward, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. So for us as a musicians, as this pandemic hits, we are all in this together, and it does affect everyone in a different way. But for us as a musician, as we all know, it's not necessarily that we don't have a job right now. It's mostly that we don't have all the infrastructure and all the circumstances that we build our life on, and almost, for myself speaking personally, that we put into with almost sense of the meaning and purpose in our life, to communicate through people, through the music that we love. We are chose to play music because we first love the music. It's that simple. We love the feeling of human connections and feeling of the hearing music and what it emotes me, how it influenced me, and we love that, and that's how we started. As long as you stay on that dream and stay on that line, how do we survive through this time to train our resilience? So when it's coming back, of course, there are a few times it was slightly reopening so we can actually record together, where now it is not possible right now, as you mentioned, as group, but you can always, like me, myself, we can play still through, although it's not perfect, but that is what is given to us. Through the Zoom, through all this platform, we can still play for people who are in long-term care residents. We can still play for people who really desperately needs the music, because the music takes you out of this world to where you cannot describe. It's not just fantasy where it's not achievable, but it's the sense of you get elevated into somewhere that it's always there. But the music helps you to revisit to where it is. We have to believe the importance, how important it is for us to reach out to the audience in a personal level. So it is, so they keep going back to how important the music is. They wouldn't know that unless we really share and show them what it does to them and what it does to us as musicians. So I think it's really great time, because the great things is, after this time, all this experience, all these struggles, all the lows that we had, it's gonna transcend into art through what we do. And we have to stay very focused on that, the core value that we have to communicate, so that hopefully when this is over, we don't forget, and we keep reminding each one of us as a friend, but also to the audience, that how it is important for them to have a music in their life, how important it is for them as a family, as a person, to have the sense of communication, the sense of vulnerability, and openness.
Yeah, thank you. The fun questions. Here's the fun
Fun question. Woo!
What do you
Sarah prepared a response for a fun question.
really?
Look, this is my new habit, new hobby.
Cool. Wow. Very
I
cool.
started to check.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna ask, so during this time of lockdown, what new skills, hobbies, if any, or passions have you discovered about yourselves or, each other?
So since the pandemic, all I have is time. So I've decided to take Korean traditional calligraphy, I guess. And I've been taking it from the online courses. This is like beginning level. And I've done it for about 10 weeks or 11 weeks now. And this is what I've been writing.
Wow.
Yay!
And what does it say? What does it say, Sarah?
It's very important thing. It says 하루를 보람찬 하루를.
So what does it mean?
I have to remind this to myself all the time. I get it, but you have to make your days. You have to spend your days meaningful. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Or you embrace every day.
This one says 명랑한 새 아침. But how would you say bright morning? Every morning is bright.
Cheerful,
something?
like cheerful.
Yeah. Have your
every
morning to be cheerful, I guess.
Every time you wake up, you are thankful for the life.
Yes. So yeah, it's nice. I knew about it obviously, but after I came to Canada, I've never experienced doing this. I didn't have a chance to do it, and then I finally found an opportunity, and then I just dived into it. And it's actually very difficult to do. And it's like an artwork, I would say, and you have to write very slowly. And even if you feel like you can do better the next time, it's like playing an instrument. You actually make it uglier, not intentionally. And it's really you need to concentrate, and there's actually like rules to follow. Like you have to keep the lines very straight and etc. And yeah, it was really a fun experience, and I think I want to continue doing this if time allows.
Very cool.
Anyone else?
What about you, Sharon? You have a big newses, and how are you transition as
Great!
It's been a big change. So at the beginning of the pandemic, there are two of us who like work a lot. We didn't know how long this pandemic would go. Initially they were like, oh, we're just going to cancel the next 2 months of concerts. 2 months goes by and nothing is getting better. In fact, it's getting worse. Yeah, we made the decision pretty quickly. We just looked around, and it was for a lot of factors like financial, but also like we don't, at our condo, which we love, and it was like a dream home, but we don't have any outdoor space there, and the outdoor space that we have is common. So the common outdoor space is amazing, but because of the pandemic, it's not always open. And when it is open, it's crowded. At the time, Tristan was only 2 years old, and he's like touching everything. He's going up to people, he's touching people, and it just was starting to get really stressful. So we made a big move. We sold our condo in downtown Toronto, and we moved to a house in Hamilton. It was a no-brainer for us at the time. It's like, we have all this space, the garden in the front and back and all of that, where Tristan can run around and he could touch as many things as he wants. And
That's great.
There, that has, it's been a game changer. Yeah,
that's good. Congratulations.
Well, Sharon, as you know, my wife is a nurse, and so our lives couldn't be more different at the moment, because we have no work, and I bumble around the house as a house husband, like cooking and like complaining that she doesn't eat enough vegetables and the normal house husbandy stuff. And she's like worked out of her brains, and it's a scary world out there. And I'm just,
absolutely.
Eat those vegetables.
Eat those vegetables. So eat your kimchi.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Aw. Did you find those little kimchi containers that I told you about?
I looked in every Costco and I still can't find them. Cause yeah, like I don't, so this is going back to a conversation I had with Sharon. This was at the concert, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
And I was like, I can't, this is like, I was griping because I can't have kimchi or gochujang in my fridge because my wife is like, it stinks up the entire apartment.
Yeah.
And like, I know that you love these things and you cook with these things, but no. There it is. We all have to make sacrifices. Mine was kimchi and gochujang.
It's okay. For the longest time, I didn't keep kimchi in my fridge either because it stinks up the whole fridge. And then my milk,
Yes, no.
kimchi, and like
Kimchi milk.
kimchi milk. Yeah.
It's an
Sounds
immune
awful.
booster.
It's funny.
Well,
Hey, pandemic time, we made our own kimchi multiple times.
I tasted it and it was amazing.
oh, well done, bravo.
I have a kimchi pork 돼지찜 right there right now. And we made kimchi for making the kimchi 돼지찜. Junggyu, how's your life in pandemic time?
Oh well, I never had like this much free time in entire of my life,
Yeah.
right? So
How's fishing going?
I actually haven't been fishing for quite a while,
No.
No.
and then I'm just like kind of working on the things that I've been always wanting to play before. So like I'm retouching like quite a lot of music. My repertoire right now is like this much thick,
Wow.
and some of the repertoire is like crazy hard one. So yeah, I'm learning a lot. And
That's
then yeah, because like when you're focused on something, right, time goes pretty fast, right? So yeah, it's just the time goes by crazy for me right now.
Good. Good.
Very good. Oh. I think we're pretty much done. One fun off the cuff question. Once the pandemic is lifted and you can go out to any restaurant you want to, where are you going to go? What are you going to eat?
It's a tough question.
That's a very tough
hard
question.
question.
Question?
I want to go first.
Okay.
Can I go? So one of the curse of pandemic for me is because I love cooking and I had all the time in this world to really spend a lot of energy into cooking and enjoying the food. So a lot of restaurant, not of disrespect, I've been going. I say it tastes much better at home. Like my mom used to say, 집밥, your stuff at home is always better. And it's kind of true. Most of food, just because I have so much time to spend on, use the best ingredients and the timings and everything, it just works out perfect. So I'll say, going back to question, what restaurant I would enjoy the most? It doesn't have to be a restaurant, but I enjoy the most where I can go with a lot of friends outside eating together. And it's something that I will not do at home, which means it's gonna be all you can eat Brazilian steakhouse.
Oh.
Yes.
5 of us, we better go, or 8 of us.
Right, that's good.
That's good, yeah.
I
For me,
challenge Marcus to a meat eating contest. I'm saying that right now.
So he's gonna eat.
It'll be
Minute.
two meat sweats, people.
No, but they have a great salad bar.
They do.
Yeah, but
They do.
Marcus,
I'd rather go to all you can eat sushi then.
yeah, all you can
Oh,
They're never that good, but they're okay.
That is true.
for me, I'm gonna go to Boston right away and catch a fish, and I'm gonna make a sashimi on the boat and have it together with my friend.
Sounds fantastic.
That's great.
Because it's been a while, like because of the border closure, I couldn't go to the United States for almost like 2 years now, right? So yeah, as long as it gets lifted, then right away.
Nice.
Maybe more fishes to catch next time.
That's true.
Even if there is no fish, I can catch something.
Yes,
Oh.
calamaris.
He can
Or
always
squeeze.
catch. That's a good phrase.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he's catching his dream.
Douglas,
Deep.
we're going
That's
deep
my
even
dream.
before 12:30.
Sarah, which restaurant?
I don't know. Right now, I'm not that hungry, so I can't really come up with it. Sorry. Somewhere not in Toronto for sure. Let's leave it at that.
We can go halal guys in New York City.
Sounds fun. Yeah, somewhere not in Toronto for sure. I think I just want to get out of, I don't know, this pandemic so that I can travel around, brother.
Or a business meal on the flight.
Business meal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or Korean food in LA.
Yes, Korean food
Yo.
in LA actually is
It's
pretty
amazing. Yeah.
Or Korean
pretty,
food in Korea.
Awesome.
Oh,
LA
Someone
could be
told
better.
me that LA foods are better.
No.
the best taste of anything I've ever had in my life was at a Korean restaurant in LA, and their kalbi like changed my world. Just
Right.
Well, Lawrence, you gotta try the one that's in Korea, apparently.
I should. I need to. But Korea's far. LA's closer.
That's true.
A little bit further.
Oh, but
A little bit further. Yeah. Okay. Well, have a great day and go eat breakfast and lunch. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Sharon.
Sharon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.